Call it what you want. There is most definitely an epic legal fight now underway between the President of the United States and the U.S. Federal Reserve. Overnight, the President said he's firing Lisa Cook, a member of the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. It's nominated by the President and sets national monetary policy, oversees the 12 Federal Reserve banks, and regulates banks and financial institutions. They're responsible for setting interest rates, and the President, still seething that rates haven't come down yet since he came back to the White House, is doing what he can to drive them down. You might say he wants to drive them down bad. But here's the thing. Given it's designed to be an independent entity, the President can't fire Federal Reserve Board Chairman Jerome Powell or any member of the Board of Governors without cause. So what's the reason for firing Cook? Well, long story short, she allegedly committed mortgage fraud in 2021 before joining the Fed by seeking mortgages on a home in Michigan and a condo in Atlanta and describing both as her primary residence. The accusations have been referred to the Justice Department for possible prosecution. No prosecution underway, as far as we know, just yet. But the President told Cook, given those accusations, I've determined that there is sufficient cause to remove you from your position. She responded today saying the President purported to fire me for cause when no cause exists under the law, and he has no authority to do so. I will not resign, she added. So what's the end game? Well, ultimately, a fight in federal court will begin again over whether a big, bold, unprecedented step taken by the President can, in fact, be taken. Let's start tonight with Aaron Navarro, who joins us with more on this. Aaron, describe a little more for the viewers the President's concern and obsession with interest rates and how he's targeted the Fed now over the last several months.
Yeah, over the past couple of months, President Trump has believed that the interest rate not being lowered has hampered the numbers we're seeing out of the economy. He often calls the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, quote, too late for not doing it sooner. In regards to Lisa Cook, as you mentioned, it stems from that allegation brought by his ally, Federal Finance Director Bill Pulte, over mortgages that she took out for 2 homes in 2021, and essentially said that she accused Cook of saying that both of those homes are her primary residences in order to get better terms on a bank loan. Trump said that Cook, given her position on the board of an agency that supervises banks and mortgages, as you mentioned, can't have, quote, that kind of infraction or allegation. He said, quote, we need people that are 100% above board. Cook and her attorney have said the move has no legal basis, said they will challenge it in court. And one source says the Federal Reserve has also deferred making any decisions about her status until a court decision is issued, as she has signaled essentially that she's not leaving.
So the chief White House correspondent of CBS News, our colleague Nancy Cortez, asked the President a little while ago about concerns that this is political. Take a look.
Is your administration weaponizing government by digging into the mortgage records of officials you don't like?
No, they're public. I mean, you can find out those records. You can go check out the records yourself. And you should be doing that job, actually. You wouldn't do that because that's not the kind of reporter you are. But you should be doing that job. I shouldn't have to be doing it. If you did your job properly, we wouldn't have problems like Lisa Cook.
So is this about controlling the Fed or not?
Yeah, I'd say it's a big part. Trump said in that cabinet meeting at one point, quote, we'll have a majority very shortly when it comes to the Board of Governors on the Federal Reserve. He said, quote, once we have a majority, housing is going to swing, and noted again that people are paying too high of an interest rate, kind of getting to the main gripe he's had with the Federal Reserve. At one point, he indicated that Stephen Miran, a White House economic advisor that he tapped to replace another governor on the Federal Reserve Board who stepped down, could be potentially switched to fill the role of Cook. So the president is not hiding here that he sees an opportunity to remake the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, which, counting Cook in that vacancy, is still split among party lines, 3-3.
We will see where this goes. Aaron Navarro, thank you for joining us and getting us started here on the Tuesday. We're joined now by Abha Bhattarai and Tom Dupree. Abha's an economics correspondent for the Washington Post. Tom, a former Deputy Assistant Attorney General. And Tom, for the umpteenth time on this program and across the CBS television network, we ask you this simple question. Can he do this? Is this legal?
The law does allow the president to remove Federal Reserve governors for cause. So Trump does have the right to remove Cook or other governors if he has good cause to do so. I think what remains to be seen is whether or not the allegations so far that have been made against Cook, namely, as was reported, she apparently has designated 2 different locations as her primary residence, whether or not that alleged fraud amounts to good cause to terminate her. That is the question that the federal courts are going to decide. And my best guess is this probably will migrate all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States.
They're going to have a busy few years ahead, yes. And that often is your answer. It ultimately will get to the Supreme Court. We'll get back to you in a second. But Abha, the fact that the Federal Reserve is independent, how important is that independence? And what does this presidential meddling potentially do to upset that?
It is crucially important. I mean, it is absolutely unprecedented for a president to go against a sitting governor in the history of the Federal Reserve. This is something that has never happened before. And the Fed's independence is a very key cornerstone of the economy. The Fed, it gives the Fed cover to do whatever it needs to do in the best interest of the economy, even if it's not politically popular. And sort of meddling with that opens the door to all sorts of issues, all sorts of concerns about the U.S. economy, you know, whether the central bank is continuing to act for the right reasons or not, or whether it's just trying to gain some political brownie points.
Yeah, and it's a huge, has a huge effect on the global economy, of course, because the Fed is looked to around the world as a premier central bank.
That's right.
Tom, Lisa Cook has hired Abbe Lowell, who is one of those lawyers that gets hired by people who get in trouble in this town. He most famously recently represented Hunter Biden. Does that give us any sense of her legal strategy here?
Well, I think the legal strategy here is going to be that this is a political removal, that this whole thing about mortgage fraud was merely a pretext to allow the president to remake the Federal Reserve Board of Governors in his own image. I think the fact that she's retained Lowell for this shows, number one, that she's bearing into the long haul. I think this is going to be a long, protracted fight. And number two, I think Lowell's not one to pull any punches. I think he's going to confront very directly the question whether the president had the legal authority to do this. So this is a battle that's going to go on for a while. One question that's going to be a preliminary question is what happens while this battle is being waged? Is Lisa Cook allowed to serve as a governor pending the outcome of this? Or is she basically going to be escorted from the office and only allowed back in if she wins? A lot of questions. Some will get sorted out in the next few days, but the ultimate question is probably going to take longer.
Yeah. She works here in Washington, right, Lisa Cook?
That's right.
Do we have any sense if she's been at the office today or in recent days?
I have not heard.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no sign that she's being barred from headquarters at all.
No, not that I know of.
Yeah, now, stock market did okay today, certainly wasn't affected by this. But how could this continued disruption or uncertainty potentially upend the economy?
Well, I mean, it depends. If we start to see the Fed, you know, if Trump gets what he wants, he gets his folks into the Fed and they start lowering interest rates, that could bring down short-term borrowing costs for a lot of people. I mean, that could mean like car loans, student loans, those things, the loans get cheaper. But in the long run, it's not a good thing. We could see a ramp up in inflation. We could see mortgages actually start to get pricier. Mortgage rates could start going up. And so, you know, even if we see this short-term interest rate come down and, you know, the president gets what he wants, that's not what's good for the economy long run.
So long-term potentially adverse, short-term could help those looking for money. Abha Bhattarai here in Washington, Tom Dupree, thank you both for being here. We appreciate it. We'll be tracking this one as well as all the other big stories.